Good morning, children. Today we start with the chapter Cell, the basic unit of life. All living things are made up of cells, that is, plant and animals. Cells are considered to be the building blocks of life. That's why we say, what is a cell? The basic structural and functional unit of life. When we get to see the discovery and history of the cell, we see an English scientist, Robert Hooke, in the year 1665, observed the dead plant cells. He was the one who coined the term cell. The cell in Latin means little room. And the sample which he took for his study was a slice of cork. What is a cork? A cork is a part of the bark of a tree. In the year 1674, a Dutch scientist, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, he observed living cells, and the sample which he took was a drop of water. So the question, if you get, the one who observed the dead plant cell was the scientist Robert Hooke, and the one who observed the living cells for the first time was Antony van Leeuwenhoek. There were many other scientists who were continuously studying about the cell and then mutually agreed on certain points about cells which they called as cell theory. So the scientists who proposed cell theory were M.J. Sheldon, Theodor Schwann, Rudolf Virchow. What was the cell theory? The cell theory states the following points. First point, all living organisms are made up of one or more cells. Cell is the structural and functional unit of all living organisms. And the third, all cells arise from pre-existing cells only by cell division. Cell being a microscopic organism, we need to know what is a microscope. A microscope is an instrument used in laboratories to observe tiny cells or their internal parts. There are two types of microscopes, compound microscope and electron microscope. Now the difference between the two is as follows. The magnification power of compound microscope is 100 to 1500 times, whereas magnification in electron microscope is over 1 lakh to 5 lakh times. Compound microscope is used for observing tiny cells, whereas electron microscope is used for observing various internal parts of the cells. Compound microscope, it uses glass lenses and visible light for observation. Electron microscope, it uses electromagnets and beam of electrons instead of light. When we study any cell under the microscope, we need to stain those cells. And the process to stain them is called as staining. The process of coloring cells and their parts is called as staining. Some common stains which we use in our laboratories to stain cells are safranin, eosin, methylene blue and crystal violet. Why do we need staining? Cells are transparent and colorless in nature. And being colorless, it is very difficult to observe them and to differentiate their various parts under the microscope. Therefore, to observe the details of the cell and its fine structure, they are stained. Next we come on the topic unicellular and multicellular organisms. These two differences are on the basis of the number of cells present in an organism. The organisms which are made up of a single cell, they are called as unicellular, whereas the organisms which are made up of many cells, they are considered as multicellular. Examples of unicellular: amoeba, paramecium, euglena, bacteria, yeast. And the examples of multicellular organisms are trees, grass, insects, cows, birds, humans, etc. Now we come on to the next topic, that is cell shape and size. As we know that cell is a structural unit, and that structural unit is provided because of the various shapes any cell possesses. Now the spherical shape we get to see in eggs of many animals. Spindle shaped cells are seen in smooth muscles fiber. Elongated shape we get to see in nerve cell. Oval in red blood cells. Branched in osteocytes. Irregular or changing shapes we get to see in amoeba and WBC, that is white blood cells. Now cell size also varies from organism to organism. It is measured by the fraction of millimeter. The unit mostly which is used is micrometer or micron. 1 micron is a very small unit which is equivalent to 10 to the power of -3 millimeter. Now examples of various cells with this size, like we get to see ostrich egg cell size, that is 170 millimeter into 130 millimeter. In human body, we see the smallest cell is RBC, which is 7 micrometer. Largest cell is nerve cell, which is about 100 centimeter. And the largest unicellular organism is Acetabularia. It is an alga. We get to see. So for today's topic, we end up till here. Thank you.